It started on what seemed like a normal Tuesday. I was meeting my fiance at the Golden Oak Event Center to finalize details for our wedding, which was planned for summer. We had picked this venue months ago, and now with just 4 months left, we needed to sort out the remaining arrangements. Since she was coming straight from her nursing job, we drove separately. As the meeting was wrapping up, she mentioned that her friend Priya needed a ride home after dropping off a rental car. I didn't think twice about it. Priya lived just 10 minutes from our place, and we'd known her for years. After getting home, I tried reaching my fiance several times over the next 3 hours. No response. Around the 90-minute mark, I texted Priya to check if everything was okay. When my fiance finally came home, she casually said sorry. It took longer than expected. Hung out with Priya for a bit before heading back. Minutes later, Priya replied to my text, "Sorry, I couldn't make it to the venue today. Haven't seen her at all." When I showed this to my fiance, she shrugged it off, saying she couldn't control what Priya says, and walked outside. Something felt very wrong. For the first time in our relationship, I checked her phone records. I saw she called Priya right after stepping outside, and there was also an hour-long call with an unknown number before she'd arrived at the venue. I asked her about which rental place they'd gone to and other details. Her answers came quickly and sounded believable. I almost convinced myself I was being paranoid and needed to sleep it off. The next morning, I asked her to show me Priya's text requesting the ride. I'd apologize for doubting her if she showed it. She refused. I mentioned seeing her on a call while driving to the venue, and she claimed it was Priya. That's when I knew she was lying. The phone records showed otherwise. Her story changed. Oh, I had to meet a coworker about a patient. I needed to show him some techniques in person. When I asked who, she said Ryan. I asked to see their text conversation. She wouldn't show me. Are you having an affair? Do you want to end this? Instead of answering, she started listing everything wrong with me. How I work too much, don't spend enough time with her, don't listen. This was all news to me. After 30 minutes of back and forth, she finally showed me the texts. They were intimate messages between her and Ryan, her coworker of just 6 weeks. He was nearly 20 years older, divorced with kids. They talked about wanting to be together and spoke poorly about me. We owned a house together, had 3 dogs and her horse. I've been working extra hours at my main job and growing my online business to support us financially. She'd been struggling recently, and I didn't want her to need a second job. In 4 months, we were supposed to get married. Now everything was falling apart. That night, she tried blaming me for her actions. She said she wouldn't have started talking to Ryan if I'd been a better listener, if I hadn't spent so much time at the office. When I pointed out I was working extra to support us, she said she would have preferred getting a part-time job, which made no sense given our previous conversations. She thought we could move past this because it was just 1 week and they'd only kissed once. When I brought up their messages, she avoided the topic entirely. I explained that trust was broken, and no matter how she tried to justify it, this was happening because of her choices, not mine. We had to figure out what to do with the house and dogs. We agreed either I'd buy her out or we'd sell and split everything. For the dogs, one of us would take one, the other would get 2. The house was nearly 3,000 square feet on 5 acres. We bought it mainly for her horse, which she'd take with her to board somewhere else. 3 days later, we sat down for a long talk about what led to this mess. She started by listing my faults: too much time on my phone, always working, poor communication. I couldn't deny these things. My online business needed constant attention since I handled all customer service myself, and deals happened at all hours. But I was doing it to support us. I could have done better about setting the phone aside and letting messages wait until morning. The communication issues went both ways, though. She never told me she was unhappy with any of this, never gave me a chance to fix things. She claimed she thought I'd get angry if she brought it up. I'm not perfect. Sometimes my words come across differently than I mean them. Like 2 weeks ago, I tried helping her make a budget since I work in finance and do this for clients regularly. She mentioned owing me around $1,000, saying she'd pay it back next paycheck. I said, let's look at the actual transfers I've made to our account. It turned out to be over $5,000. I wasn't trying to embarrass her. I just wanted her to understand our financial situation, especially with wedding expenses coming up. She took it as me trying to humiliate her. She said I'd been too focused on money lately, but I was just trying to make sure we'd be okay. It bothered me that she kept trying to justify her actions by pointing out my flaws. She'd say things like, "I'm surprised you'd throw away 6 years together over this," and I'd have to remind her that she threw it away by cheating. She complained that I told too many people too quickly, saying we could have worked it out privately. Then she'd say she wouldn't have needed to talk to someone else if I'd been better at communicating. Finally, I got the full story of the affair. Based on the texts, they'd started talking about 2 weeks before I caught them. She met him at a park to play basketball and talk, and they ended up kissing. I believe it hadn't gone further yet, but it probably would have soon. She insisted he wasn't her boyfriend, but that night she went out and didn't tell me where. Living together was awkward. I think she wanted to get back together and fix things. The main problem was years of poor communication. We'd fallen into a boring routine, and instead of talking about it, she acted out and talked badly about me behind my back. Understanding what went wrong helped me feel better. I started going to the gym and studying for my financial planning certification again. I took a week off work to focus on myself. I called the venue to cancel the wedding. We lost some money unless they could book another couple for that date. I kept in touch with her parents, who lived across the country. They were worried sick, so I assured them everything was calm and their daughter was fine. After checking current interest rates, I realized I couldn't find a comparable house for what I was paying now. Even apartments cost more. My best option seemed to be buying out her share. She agreed, so we planned to get an appraiser to determine the equity split. That first week, I was embarrassingly desperate to fix things. I begged and tried everything to make it work. Then she told me she had to choose between me and Ryan, and she chose him. That's when I finally woke up and realized I'd lost all self-respect. I needed to focus on myself. I moved our joint savings to my personal account, calculated what I owed her, and transferred her share to our joint account. I started working out every day. It helped clear my head. I went shopping for new clothes, got massages, and spent time with friends and family. Looking back, I realized how isolated I'd become in the relationship, another red flag I'd missed. I started seeing a therapist weekly, something I'd never done before. It helped me process everything, and I plan to continue even after this is all settled. We were still living in the house together, with her in the guest room. Our only conversations were about feeding the dogs. She still couldn't accept any blame. In her mind, everything was my fault. Even though it wasn't fair, I handled all the work of selling the house. That's how our relationship had always been. I contacted agents, set up appointments, and met with them. She insisted on getting opinions from 3 different agents, including one her friend recommended. We went with the first agent I'd found. The house was listed on a Sunday, with an open house planned for the following weekend. It got lots of interest right away. We had to decide about the dogs. I offered to take one or none. She chose to keep all 3 together. They were happy as a pack, and splitting them up felt wrong. Plus, selfishly, it would give me a completely fresh start. About a week after everything fell apart, I met someone new. I'm not getting ahead of myself, but spending time with her has been eye-opening. She went through something similar before, so she understands what I'm dealing with. Being around someone kind and independent made me realize how self-centered and manipulative my ex was. My family and friends had tried warning me, but I hadn't listened. I'd fallen into a comfort trap. Nice house, lots of land, great pets. It was easier to stay in that routine than rock the boat. You don't see these things clearly until you step back and really look at your life. Some might say I wasted those years, but I'm treating it as a learning experience. I won't ignore red flags again, won't let myself get stuck in a rut, and won't lose touch with friends and family. Time really does heal. For months later, I moved to a new house in a better area. Selling the old house was easy, but buying this one was tough. Took 5 offers before one got accepted. The memories in the old house were too heavy, especially after she left with 2 of the dogs. Saying goodbye to them was like losing family members, but seeing them happy at the dog park later helped me accept it. During those months between finding out and moving, I threw myself into work. My side business made 6 figures, which helped me save enough to comfortably afford this new place. Friends and family helped with the move, and now it's starting to feel like home. The woman I met is now my girlfriend. Living closer to her is nice. She's patient with my emotional ups and downs and respects when I need space. Her communication style is teaching me to be more open, too. I've learned more about emotional intelligence in these few months than in years before. I still think about my ex sometimes, good and bad memories pop up. My therapist helps me accept that I'll probably never get the apology I want. She's too proud to admit she was wrong. We barely communicate now, and I won't see her or the other dogs again. It's better this way. Looking back, I'm grateful this happened before the wedding. I was going to marry someone completely self-centered, staying in an unhappy situation just to keep my comfortable life and not disrupt the pets. Now I'm working on myself, learning what I want and need, and giving my remaining dog the best life possible. The whole experience taught me a lot. Sometimes the hardest things that happen to us end up being blessings in disguise. It forced me out of my comfort zone and showed me what a healthy relationship should feel like. I'm not bitter anymore, just thankful for the lessons and looking forward to whatever comes next. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button to help us reach our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.